Good morning, good afternoon, guys. I've got a fantastic guest for the podcast today from California, Aaron Vaccaro. He's an entrepreneur and he's a board member of Liquor Lab, which he's going to talk about. He's also in the finance space and he helped scale Topgolf from a 90 million business to a multi-billion dollar global brand. So if you're not familiar with Topgolf, it's really fantastic experience. And I'm really happy to have him on to talk about entrepreneurship, experiential marketing, scaling to billion-dollar brands, and talk to an awesome entrepreneur. So Aaron, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Chris.
Yeah. Briefly journey your story. You had a background in investment at West River Group, and then now you're scaling and now you're doing Liquor Lab. So talk about that.
Yeah, absolutely. I say I really have only ever had one job. I went to school and I studied math and finance. And then coming out of school, I got a job at West River Group, which is our venture capital firm. At the time, it was like 3 people and a dog. But with this brilliant leader named Eric Anderson, who was the founder. And we had a nice business doing venture lending and investing with debt into startups that were a little more mature. But we also had an investment in this company called Topgolf, which Eric had helped bring to the US actually much earlier in 2004. It's one of those companies that's like a 15-year overnight success. Topgolf started in 2000 in the UK and then came to the US in 2004, but really hit the national stage around not till 2015, 2016 when we opened Las Vegas. But when I joined, he had just gone from being an investor to becoming the CEO of Topgolf as well. And he brought me on board to be his chief of staff and analyst. And while working for West River, our investment firm, most of my time was spent running around the world helping build Topgolf on finance and strategy and operations. And we can go a bit more into that. But so that was a lot of the first part of my career. And then over time, with our investment firm, we've made investments into other companies, a lot in the consumer and entertainment space, and then also in technology and life sciences and other places too. And my role has evolved a bit, as you mentioned, to going from being just an investor and advisor to these companies to getting involved in actually helping run on the ground some of the operations. And that's been a combination of sort of both interest and attraction for me, but also necessity and sometimes. And so now I'm still a partner at West River Group. We're based out of Seattle. And so I oversee some of those companies and help on new investments. But most of my time during the week is spent running 2 of our companies, which are Singularity University and Liquor Lab.
Interesting. The other, so what's really, we'll dive into it. And I believe Singularity at University, correct me if I'm wrong, it's Peter Diamandis. That's
exactly right. Yeah. So Singularity was an investment that we made, became a big shareholder of, supporting the company from 2015 through the pandemic. And there's a great story there. I became a fan of Singularity before I ever even got a job when I first learned about it back in 2010 or 11. But if you fast forward, West River Group became the lead investor in Singularity. And I now have an opportunity I serve as president, and I work with Peter and Ray and the board there to build that company. So that's part of my day job, which is a huge privilege. And as someone who was a fan of the company, to getting the books and Peter and everything, to now get to actually be part of it and an integral part of it has been a pretty amazing journey. And yeah, what we do at Singularity is we teach people about exponential technologies, which we define as those things that are, because of feedback loops and the advancement of technology, are growing exponentially, like AI, and is obviously the hottest one right now. But we also look at biotech and additive manufacturing and big quantum computing. But yeah, that's a big part of my job and a privilege. And then what's funny is on the other side, I spend the other half of my time running Liquor Laboratory, which is like an experiential business that's like cooking classes for cocktails. And it's funny is these things don't really go together on the outside. But the reality is, if you break down fundamentally the two places we invest and how I see the world is, there's the sort of the inevitable, and then there's the enduring. So if you look at Singularity and our technology investments, the growth of technology is inevitable. And there's a lot of businesses in the tech world that Kevin Kelly coined this term, actually, if you look at one of his books. But we invest in things where it's like, where we know where the world is going. And so there's investing in what we believe is ultimately inevitable. And then there's also things that no matter how far technology goes, I believe are going to be timeless. So whether that's golf or wine or a good cocktail or music, those things aren't going away, I believe. And so they're also worth investing in. And part of the investment strategy that was behind Topgolf and now is also behind Liquor Lab is taking these things that are enduring, but also aspirational. If you think about like playing golf or making cocktails, and making them more fun and approachable for the masses. And so with Topgolf, it was like, you want to play golf, you want to hit a golf ball, but instead of showing up for a particular tee time and like wearing funny clothes and spending a bunch of money on golf clubs and feeling like you're out of place, it's literally just show up, we'll put a golf club in one hand and a beer in your other hand and just point that way and come as you are. We break down the barriers of class and race and income, and it's like, we make it accessible to everybody. And similarly, I'm applying the same principles now at Liquor Lab, where you take this thing that I think is timeless, which is drinking with moderation, and this idea of making drinks and cocktails and this mythical character and rock star in our culture who's like the bartender. And instead of having to like have all the tools and have the fully stocked bar, it's come as you are. We put the tools in front of you and the ingredients, and all you got to do is follow along and have fun, and you can learn how to make your own awesome drinks and be the bartender for the night. And what's funny is, we don't need to get into all the details, but the business models behind Singularity and Liquor Lab are actually quite similar. If you think about running classes and teaching and doing the private events and programs versus open enrollment events and programs. And we have our subject matter experts, which in one case are technology experts and founders, and another case are mixologists. So there's actually a lot of parallels that are flywheels that reinforce my learning between the two businesses, even though they look like they're wildly different things. If that makes sense.
Yeah, that's a really great segue. And what's interesting is, because we're going to talk about experiential marketing, and it's almost like, because there was a session at Southwest this year talking about movie theaters, because they've basically got destroyed by Netflix and the streaming, but now they're trying to make it like a experience. So what role does experiential marketing play in today's business landscape, and how are those business models changing, and how can brands use it to stand out?
Yeah, 100%. I think there's two things there. I think there's both the experience economy, which we clearly believe in. We've invested a lot in, Topgolf being a great example, and now others. And what the data shows is, the most recent study I saw was 70% of consumers would rather spend money on experiences versus on things. There's lots of theories as to why that is. Comes down to demographics and transfer of wealth and different things in terms of what people feel like they're actually going to get value out of. But we know that people are spending more money on experiences versus items and possessions. And then secondly, there's experiential marketing, which is, how do you communicate something about your brand or influence and compel people to do something in an authentic way? And so if we go to that one, Liquor Lab is a great example of why experiential marketing is powerful. So it's one thing, if you're a whiskey brand, let's say, I won't pick on anybody, but if you're a whiskey brand, you spend a lot of money on advertising, billboards, and Super Bowl ads and different places, right? Billions of dollars. Do you think that is more powerful, or are you going to get better results by actually putting the product into the hand of the consumer and not just handing out samples at the liquor store, but getting them to use it to then create something that they believe in? Oh, I made this and it's delicious, right? And so what Liquor Lab has the potential to be is, as we're building this brand to teach people to make their own cocktails at scale, is the world's best experiential marketing platform for spirits brands. Because if I'm XYZ brand out of Louisville, and we're going to be teaching 12,000 or 50,000 people a year to make an old fashioned, I want them using my brand to do it. Because when they go home and it's time to make drinks for my friends or my girlfriend at home, I'm going to go gravitate to the product that I learned with, because I'm like, I know how to use this and I'm comfortable with it. From there, you can branch out. But we know that if I use Maker's Mark to make my first old fashioned, that's what I'm going to go back to, because that's what we've seen. And to the point about why does experiential marketing matter and why has there been such a gravitation towards this? Similarly with media in general, there's just such an onslaught of noise in the world, right? There's so much marketing, and we just get hit every single day constantly by Instagram ads and Facebook ads and radio ads. And it's hard to navigate like what's really authentic. And when you have experiences with a product or with a brand, it's harder to fake. And you feel like, okay, it's the same reason that long form, like podcasts like this, are so popular. And I think drove a big result in the election, for example, is because the unedited sort of long form experience feels more genuine than whatever they cut together. It's like, it's pretty obvious now, but you can, with a 30-second ad, you can show whatever you want to show. It's harder to hide the authentic experience when you're actually in person doing something.
Yeah. And what's really interesting, because you've taken your singularity with this exponential technology and then the experiential, how do you view AI, or how are you using AI in either scaling these businesses or actually improving the experience? Because experience is like, it's a human thing. It's a human connection. How do you view AI in all of this?
Oh yeah, that's a great question. The way that we've been implementing AI, in particular generative AI, is I haven't replaced anyone with it. But what we have done is use it to augment our team. I can tell you at Singularity, we just finished 2024 with Singularity's the most profitable year that it's ever had. We're doing the work right now with about 20 people that in 2019 we were doing with about 200 people. So we're doing so much more with less. Part of that is cutting out a lot of stuff that was not useful. And part of it is extending our team's capabilities, right? And so I can write more, I can iterate, I can do everything so much more and faster using tools like we use Claude and ChatGPT and Midjourney and all these things. That can extend into like, how do we create programs for Singularity and put different blocks of technology together to make interesting curriculum? That can also be used for creating menus for liquor lab classes, right? Or I'll have a team. What AI can't do as well, though, we'll see where we get, is know what ingredients are going to taste good together in a cocktail. I'm sure someone's going to reply to us here and prove me wrong on that. But I have people to create amazing drinks and flavors. But then if I put the flavors and the menu into the AI, it'll give me 15 options for creative names that we can call it. And that's now something we don't have to spend a bunch of time on. We just get immediately, it juices our creativity by coming up with ideas, right? So I view it as an extension and augmentation of what we normally would spend cycles computing with our own brains, of just go come up with 100 ideas, and then I will do the job of editing rather than of production.
And in the experiential industry, what's like the secret sauce to like creating that wow moment, that kind of what is it called? The fanatic, the loyalist in any industry, hospitality, entertainment, etc.
I don't know if I have the answers for any industry. I can tell you things that we thought about at Topgolf. One is, think about your brand purpose and the feeling that people have coming there. Our rallying cry at Topgolf was creating moments that matter for everyone. So it wasn't actually about the golf or the food. It was about creating moments for families, for friends, for coworkers, for dates that were meaningful and memorable, and empowering our team to do that, right? Disney does a great job of this. There's other brands that have pioneered this thinking. And we learned some of this actually bringing our team to the Disney Institute. So I'll give them some credit. But it's those magical moments of, I'll give you an example. It's a fun story. We had a family at Topgolf, and they were having a great time. And the dad or somebody posted a picture on Facebook and tagged us. And it was a picture of the guy driving the Kubota, cleaning up the golf balls. And so he posted the picture and said, "Hey, I found my dream job." And in real time, because our team is monitoring all the time, like things that are getting posted, saw that. And while they were still there, 15 minutes later, the manager of the venue, we had go up, find them at their bay and bring a job application and show up to their bay and say, "Hey, I'm a manager. I heard that your dream job is to drive a Kubota for us. So I thought here's an application if you want to apply." And those little funny moments are just so magical of, oh my gosh, like how did that just happen? So one is like paying attention and looking for opportunities. Will from Four Seasons, this book, Unreasonable Hospitality, I just gave that book to my whole team because he does such a good job of articulating that of what they did at, not the Four Seasons, 11 Madison, the restaurant. So I read Unreasonable Hospitality. So having that freedom and creativity is key. I think the other thing that makes a big difference is like details matter. So and it's almost subconscious, right? Of when you come into a place and everything is just in place and all the colors match and everything is on brand and it's all perfect. Even if we don't pick up on those things consciously, it's subconsciously you do, right? It's like when I go through a pitch deck as an investor, if all the pages are aligned and the text is aligned and the font, it's actually well designed. I may not be calling that out specifically, but it just feels more quality, right? It feels more put together. So if I go into an experience like at Liquor Lab, and there's just a difference between something that feels like a quality finished product and finished experience versus something that's thrown together and there's details missing. And that's why it really matters to like really stress the details. And it's hard to push yourself to that extent sometimes, but I really think it's worthwhile to actually fret all of those things.
Yeah. That book, Unreasonable Hospitality, is really, and I think there was another really good one, is like the gold standard with the Ritz-Carlton, just very attention to details.
Totally. They're amazing. They're the best.
Yeah. We have a few more minutes left, and like for the audience, what were some of the challenges in scaling these kind of experiential brands, and what are like key takeaways for the audience if they're considering scaling?
I can tell you that one of the challenges with scaling a brand like Topgolf is we were building in the real big expansion era from probably like 2014, 15 through ultimately we sold the company in 2021 to Callaway Golf Company. There's a whole story there. I can tell you, without the pandemic, Topgolf would have gone public itself. And then all of a sudden the world was shut down. But for a number of years there, we were building 8 to 10 Topgolfs a year. And each one of those is a $25 million project or something. It's like Eric always said, it's like building a minor league baseball stadium every month. Is what we were doing. It's crazy. Yeah. And that's a huge capital. We're putting $250 million a year into the ground, and that's a big capital requirement. And but some of the secret sauce behind it was we had really good partners, both on equity and debt financing, have developed a system of knowing where the money was going to come from. And we had REITs and debt financing and different things. So we developed a scalable model for financing these things that worked when we were doing 2 or 3 per year, and then was able to scale to do 10 a year. And it was great business. It was great for us, and it was great business for those people who were in the business of financing these projects. The interesting challenge, though, is I don't think we think enough. I think as the venture capital industry has evolved over the last 20 years, it's extended into all these other places where the venture capital model really matured around technology, right? It's like technology startups and software companies, but now is applied to also brick and mortar experiences and different types of business models. The reason venture capital is so powerful with software is because you can spend some money to build a thing, pay some people to build software, but then it's almost infinitely scalable, right? And so you can get those 10 or 100 or 1,000x returns. Building a brick and mortar experience like a Topgolf or a Liquor Lab, it doesn't work that way. You have to keep putting in more money and you don't get these huge economies of scale and build one Topgolf, sell it to every state. So you have to build it every time.
Yeah.
And so it's very difficult to see like, how are you going to get a 100x or a 50x return? But you can get a 3 or a 5x return if you have good margins and good performance. And so I think it's just interesting to think about our sort of expectations of returns and capital deployment in the physical world when you're moving around atoms rather than bits. And it's happening. People are building amazing experiences, and I can tell you, we get pitched almost every week on something is going to be the Topgolf for X, right? Which was like the Uber guy. It used to be, it's going to be Uber for X, or Airbnb for Y. Yeah. Now there's all these Topgolf for X, which is really cool. It's amazing to be part of that legacy. And I was just a part of it as on the team. But it's certainly it's the experience economy is growing. I don't think it's going to stop. I think it's a great thing to create accessibility to a lot of these things. We have another company, Toka, which is like soccer for Topgolf for soccer, right?
Yeah.
And we're bringing a lot more people to the sport of soccer, just like we did for golf.
Yeah. Nice. And if people wanted to learn more about Liquor Lab and connect with you and partner with you, how could they reach you?
That's a great question. Come visit us in Nashville and Louisville. Liquor Lab we run classes every week, and you can come have fun and learn something. So visit us in Nashville. If you're interested in the Singularity, you can find us at su.org, and we run programs for leaders about exponential technology. We have a program coming up in May called The Future of Biotech in San Diego. And then if you're an entrepreneur or a founder with a startup that you're raising money for, you can find us at West River at wrg.vc. And you can go there and send us your idea. And I actually read all of those. It's, we don't say yes to most things, obviously, but I promise I'll read it.
Yeah. Awesome. I really enjoyed this conversation, and really refreshing to hear bright ideas and keep up the great work.
No, thanks for having me. This was fun, and it's a privilege to be here.